Dragons, I'm back to give you guys my review and my recap of season 3 of Bridgerton, the last 4 episodes. And oh my god, I must have watched this like half of the season like at least 9 times, but I'm gonna do what I did last time. We're gonna talk about my thoughts originally, and then I'm gonna go through every single episode and kind of give you guys my spoiler thoughts, and then at the end we'll kind of chat about what I'm excited for and, you know, all the other fun stuff. This is me just literally watching it and giving you guys my thoughts immediately after. I had such a fun time with this season. Like, I really did. I think it's definitely my favorite season of the whole thing. I know people are going to criticize, they don't like it. I really don't care. I have a fun time. I really like the actors, and I think it was really done. Do I think the second half could have used more steamy moments with Nicola and Luke? Yeah, of course I do. With Colin and Penn, of course. Do I think that there could have been more? Do I think the season could have been longer? Yeah, of course I do. Do I think that it is always going to be an ensemble show and everything needs to get built up? Yes, of course. Did I have a fun time? Yes. Am I addicted? Yes. Do I think this is one of the better seasons? Yes, I do. And I'm going to try to convince you of that as we go through it. So I'm going to go watch TikTok, which is one of my favorite episodes. And then when I'm done with TikTok, I'll give you guys an update. So, bye. Dragons, I'm back. So I'm actually here to do a quick recap of TikTok, which I've literally watched like 95 times, but for some reason my footage like is not uploading, so I'm gonna have to refilm it. So sorry if this is not what I originally filmed, but honestly I don't feel like going back. So this was the eagerly anticipated episode because we had to wait a month. I actually like that Netflix did that. I don't think I ever said that. I think for this show they should do week by week. I think it would like encounter so much like anxiety and like theorizing and stuff like that. So I think Netflix should do that because it would definitely keep people engaged. I think to start off the scene with them announcing their engagement at Bridgerton House and the little scene between Eloise and Penelope is just like, that's the moment like I always wondered how it was gonna go. And I think honestly, if there was no whistle down twist like sort of in the book, I think it would have lacked a lot of like, it would have lacked a lot of weight. I think in addition with the whistle down twist and Penelope lying about that and then lying that she liked her brother for all these years, I think it added like another weight to it. So I really did like that scene. I also loved how excited Hyacinth was and the mom and all of that stuff. So that was something that I was really liked about that. And then we go into the mom finding out that they're engaged and how angry she is that like Penelope is going above her station. That scene was really good. I love when Colin came in and like basically put Miss Featherington in her spot. I really enjoyed that. That was a scene that like I really liked. I also like that Kate and Anthony came back. They have a very small part this season, but again, that's kind of what happens when you become a big Bridgerton star. You kind of get a lot of opportunities. I know Johnny Bailey was filming Wicked or promoting Wicked at this point. So I enjoyed that. That was another scene that I did like. I also did like the developing relationship between Eloise and Cressida in this. I think it took a turn at the end, but I think their dynamics were very interesting throughout this whole season, but especially in this episode. I also did really like the boys scene where they were all chatting when it was revealed that Colin was going to marry Penelope, and just the dynamics between the boys. Like, I love those three together. They always have some super funny scenes, and I think you definitely see the charmingness of Johnny Bailey because, again, I think I said it. I say it in like a later clip, but he is such a bear to watch in Viscount Who Loves Me in season 2. Like, he's so angry and so specific, but to see him in love is like such a different side of his character, which I really like. I love this scene when Penelope has to confront her mom and they have a conversation because her mom was really mean to her like this entire series, like just really rude, like horrible to her. And I just liked Colin coming in protecting her because I don't think anyone has ever really protected Penelope. And again, we'll just say it here. I love the mirror scene. And again, it is true. There is no real mirror scene in this book. I think that the reason why people call it a mirror scene is he says, oh, I want to have sex with you in front of a mirror, basically, but then they don't. So I think this scene was one of my favorite scenes in the entire show. Like one of my favorite steamy scenes. One of my favorite scenes, period, because my problem sometimes with steamy scenes is I think that they're just steam for steam's sake. And I didn't feel that in any of their romantic entanglements, like this scene, the carriage scene, the one in the street. Nothing really felt just sex for sex sake. And I almost felt like that was for Bridgerton season 1. Not for Bridgerton season 2. I think that those scenes were really, really well done as well. I haven't watched it in a while, but I want to go back maybe in the winter and rewatch them. But I felt like these scenes, this scene in specific, really like took you on a journey. And I think because it was the character's first time, it really just had Penelope and Colin like be so vulnerable. And I've watched interviews about this scene. It was just very, very interesting to shoot. But it just was like such an emotional experience because I feel like both characters had to learn how to be in a relationship with each other and be in a steamy relationship with each other. And I loved it. I also love that like you kind of see this in everything that Penelope does. She wants to be in control. She wants to know what to do. She wants to know how to do something correctly. And that's not how one thing happened in the ton, but I love this scene. I thought it was so well done. Like, major props for Nicola Coughlan to like basically, you know, showing everything to the world and saying basically F you. Like, I don't care what you think about my body, but she is gorgeous. Stunning. That scene was delightful. I don't know if anyone else got this, but it reminded me of like the Titanic vibes. And I do not know why, but whenever I watch this scene, it gives me major Titanic vibes. I don't know why. If you agree with me, comment below. But whenever I watch this scene, it gives me vibes like that when I watch the drawing scene in the Titanic room. I just really, really love this scene. It was shot so beautifully, so many elements, so many emotional moments, and it really took the characters on a journey. And that's what I look for in my steamy scenes. But also it was like a very, very emotional scene as well. Again, I also really did like the development of the relationship between Francesca. I know her story is going to take a turn and a twist, but I really do love Kilmartin. Like, I really do like him. So I hope he's back for season 4 and we get to develop a little bit more of their relationship. I don't think I talked about this any of my other thing. I really like the scene between Kate and Eloise when they're kind of talking about the relationship with Penelope and how complicated this is for Eloise. That is also another scene, kind of like one I see later when Eloise is talking to Benedict, that love is not finite. You can love multiple people or have love in your heart for many people. And I really did like that scene, but that scene was another one that kind of helped Eloise on her journey. My favorite quote of Penn and Colin, my favorite quote is, "Am I a mess? Yeah, sure, am I a mess?" So that little scene where they were like, after they, you know, did their thing and they were just sleeping, like laying next to each other. I love that. That was really, really cute. But that I'm going to get on something like a quote for me because I think that was just so romantic. Am I a mess? Yes, but you're my mess. And then we go into the reveal of, you know, like the whistle down reveal on Penelope. This is when Penelope starts to get nervous, and I think you see it in this whole scene. I also really did like the Eloise and Colin scene in this. If we have any of the Bridgerton together, I think that they just have really good chemistry. So this was another scene that I really did like and enjoy. And then we also have a little bit of complexities with the Farringtons. The Farrington dynamics are always so interesting because I feel like Penelope does get really pushed through the water in this. Like, she's definitely not well liked by anyone in her family, but I just really like the dynamics in this family as well, and the sisters. The Mondriches also are going on a journey in this where he has to give up his club. He doesn't want to give up his club, but I just like seeing like a new family come into the town that people didn't really expect. I really do like that. And then we'll just talk a little bit about like the final ball, which I think is definitely like a tense experience because you start to see, like, as Eloise basically threatens Penelope, like, I'm going to tell at 12 o'clock, you start to realize that she's really, her clock is ticking. Like, how are you going to tell Colin? Penelope also realizes she's done all this stuff with Colin. So if Colin says, I don't love you anymore, like, she's pretty much fucked. Like, she's in trouble. Sorry. But I feel like, you know, that is something that really does prevalent, and just the anxiety of Cressida revealing and how angry she gets. You see that later, like how angry, like how dare Cressida try to take my identity. That was really, really good. I like the passing out at the end just because I'm all for a bit of drama. I also like that Kate and Anthony announced they were having a baby. And yeah, I just had a fun time with this. That was honestly my favorite scene was definitely the drawing room scene just because I feel like it had so much weight for the characters. So yeah, this is my last clip for this vlog. You guys will go see the rest of it. Let me know in the comments what was your favorite episode, and I will see you guys when I talk about the next episode, which is Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. Bye. Okay guys, I'm back. So I'm here to talk about episode 6, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton in season 3 of Bridgerton. I thought this episode was really, really good. I think that this episode was this is the episode that I think sort of changes the trajectory from the books a lot, and I like that because I think in the book, I have a vlog where I'm rereading this, you know, Penelope just eventually sort of gives up Whistledown, and I like in the TV show it's such a fight for her. I like that it really is a part of her identity. I like that, like, she kind of goes through the whole thing. She passed out in the previous episode because she was so anxious, she was so nervous, she was so anxiety about someone telling her secret, and then her secret kind of got taken from her. And then through the entire episode you see her talking to Eloise and saying, look, you're about to be a Bridgerton. Do you really need to be Whistledown anymore? And then her talking to her mom, and her mom saying, ladies don't have dreams, they have husbands. And that was just like, that broke my heart, because like, you're basically saying she can't have an identity. And then, you know, you kind of go through everything else. You kind of have her, you know, literally giving up Whistledown. You have her burning the papers. You have her talking to Genevieve and giving up this, and kind of getting to a point where she is really okay, or as okay as she's going to be, about giving up Whistledown. And then Cressida comes in and says, yo, I'm Whistledown. And that just kills her. Like, throughout the whole episode, you see that, like, she's taking her identity. And I like that. I didn't like it, but I like the reaction that Penelope had. I like how protective Penelope is in that. And that really comes ahead in the next 2 episodes. Like, I will get into it as we get there. I'll probably watch it later this weekend. But I think that the heart of this episode was Eloise and Penelope. It really, really bookended the episode for me. And obviously, like, Colin was there. Like, Colin, we had the great band, like, you know, the scene at the beginning, and Colin and Penelope definitely had more screen time in this episode, which I did like. But I felt like Eloise and Penelope, there was you know, progress made in their relationship. You know, she was like really, really mad with her at the start and was like, look, you need to stop Whistledown, you can't do it anymore. And then at the end she's like, you have to publish again. And that was just really interesting. I also really liked the dancing scene where they were dancing and Penn was telling him how much she's loved him. And I think that sort of really connects to the book with me, or like how the book was kind of portrayed, like how long these people had been friends. But again, as a TV show reader, we've seen that for 2 seasons. We've heard about that. We've seen that longing, and you know that Penn has loved Colin. I just really, really like that scene as well. I also really like the Mondrich stuff. I also really, really felt for Francesca in this episode, where her mom doesn't really believe in her relationship with you know, her soon-to-be intended. The Benedict stuff I did not predict. Actually, I'll lie. I definitely did predict Benedict was going to be bi. I saw that in season 1, and then it just never came to fruition. So I'm really, like, interested to see how that all plays out. Like, obviously I've seen the show, but like, very interested to see where they take his season. I also really like the Mondrins ball. That was really, really, like, interesting. And the ferreting dynamics as the sisters are very, very interesting as well. If I had to pick a favorite scene, I would probably say the two Eloise and Penelope scenes. The one at the start where she was like, you're a Bridgerton, now you're going to be a Bridgerton, and also at the end when she's like, you have to publish again. Those were really, really strong scenes in my opinion. I also like the scene in the church when they were dancing and, you know, Penn was basically telling Colin, I've loved you for my whole life. I really, really like that as well. And this was a scene that really focused on Penelope sort of coming into her own in the self-discovery part of this story that I really, really like. And I think that for me, none of the other stories really had a self-discovery element. Like, you know, when we had Kate, she was really dealing with falling for the man that her sister loved. We had Daphne, there was no self-discovery element. So maybe the reason that Penelope really is I'm attracted to the storyline is because that is such a big part of her. Like, she's really trying to find her own self. And everybody, Eloise, Penelope, Eloise, her mother, Colin eventually, is telling her, you can't have anything that's yours. And I just liked the last like scene between her and Eloise when she was like, I felt powerless. This is how I became powerful. And I just really, really like that. So that is my thoughts on Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. The two scenes I really liked were the Eloise ones and then the one when they were dancing. So I will be back hopefully in a few days when I actually sit down and watch the next episode, which is a lot of emotion. And I will say, well, I'll say it in the other clip, but the figuring out of Whistledown that we're about to get to is really different in the book and the TV show. So yeah, I'll just say that. But it was very, very different. Like, I just read it and I could definitely see the anger in this and the heartbreakingness in that. But I'll talk about that in the next clip. So I'll see you guys soon. Bye. Hi, I'm back. I just wanted to say one thing because I did mention in my other vlog. There is a very big difference when Colin finds out that Penelope is Whistledown and how angry he is. He is angry in this scene. He's so mad at her. And in the book, I think Luke Newton did such a different job and he was so upset and he was heartbroken. And I think that connects so well to why I like the show, like the emotional elements and the self-discovery elements of it. So I just wanted to say that in reference to the book, that it was a very, very different interpretation. So I will see you guys for my next update. Sorry, one more clip about episode 2 that I forgot. I really do like the development of Eloise and Colin's relationship. They had a couple of scenes throughout this whole episode that I also did really like because I think their relationship is really important, especially because they're all friends and this has kind of been a, you know, like a threesome this whole time. So I really did like those two scenes. I thought that they were very, very interesting. And I just liked that, you know, they have conversations. So those two scenes were also really, really strong. So I'll be back when I talk about the next episode and I will see you guys then. Bye. Hey Victorians, I'm back. So it's been a bit since I filmed this vlog because I started this vlog, I think when I was still teaching, but now I'm off for the summer. But I did want to pop in because I just got back from my trip. I went to ALA to a massive book convention. So I just kind of took a week off of watching Bridgerton because I was traveling. But I had just finished reading Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, the book, which I have a video on my channel. If I remember, I'll link it in the cards if I can remember how to do that. But I just wanted to kind of have a little bit of a chat because I just rewatched the whole first part of it, which I have a video on, and I rewatched the first 2 episodes, which I already have clips on. I actually just filmed the other clip because I don't know where my footage went. But I just wanted to have a little bit of a chat about the series as a whole and why I think, this is a controversial opinion, why I think the TV show did the Friends to More romance a lot better than the book, and just my overall thoughts. I think that the book was okay. I think that if you're just reading the book and how kind of Julia Quinn kind of writes her story, I think it was okay. I think it was fun. It was okay, but I just think that for me, the adaptation hit so well. I think the reason the adaptation hit so well is you had so much page time with these characters. And I think, like, if you're a reader that doesn't like Friends to More romances, or doesn't like the slow progression, or doesn't like slow burn, or doesn't like how much screen time Colin and Penn had throughout the whole series, I don't think you're going to like the TV show, because this season really did rely on a lot of that. But I loved it. I loved the slow burn vibes of this story. I really felt at the end of season 2 that they were ready for their moment. And I think that the writing team did such a good job setting them up for that. And I just love Nicola Coughlan and Luke Newton. Like, they are perfect to me. Not perfect, but they're pretty good. Like, I just love them as actors. But like, literally just the small moments. And I think what the book was missing for me was the Friends to More romance. Like, you know, her having Colin pretend that they were dating, or having Colin help her find a suitor, made this book so much more interesting to me. And they had so many conversations in the first half of, like, how to flirt, and, like, you know, Penn telling him, I am not confident. I don't know how to be confident. I'm so jealous of you. It's so vexing how you're so confident in these social situations and I can't be. But then they're also very, very similar because Colin also likes to write and Penn also likes to write. So I think that that was like really, really fun for me. I also did like that there was someone going after Penelope. I like the doubling element. I like that Colin got jealous. And I almost think that the book did not work for me because Colin was so angry. And I think, like I said it in a previous clip, Colin in the TV show plays his anger more as being hurt and betrayed. And I will talk about that in the next episode that I'm going to watch, because that's like the next episode. You guys will see that in real time after I film this clip. But I just love the adaptation of The Friends to More. Like, I also think that the story is so much bigger because I feel like it's a self-discovery journey for both of these characters. And I also think that the vibes between, you know, Penelope and Eloise had such a big part in this story, and that was like really the starting point of the story was how broken their friendship was after what happened with Whistledown. But I also think it's not only just a love story between Penn and Colin, it's also a confidence journey for Penelope and not wanting to give up Whistledown. And I remember reading the book and being like, oh, this is like so disappointing. Like, she's gonna give up Whistledown, and like that was like, that broke me a little bit, because I think why the second half of this story, the second half of the TV show worked for me is all of this tension that really happened. And I just really, really loved it. I also think that the steamy scenes really elevated the story. And I think that in the book, it was steaminess. That was it. But I think the season is my favorite. Again, this is not like this is a controversial opinion, I think, but also for me, like, it's not shocking because I love everything that's unpopular. You tell me something that I should like, I like the other thing. So it's probably not a shock to me that no one likes this season and I love it. So if you love this season, please comment below because I always feel like I'm alone. But yeah, I just had to say that. I just really love how the TV show did the Friends to More vibes, and I love that. So I'm gonna go watch The Joining of Hands, which is their wedding episode, and then I'll come back and I'll chat with you guys again. Hopefully I can get this vlog up a little bit sooner rather than later, but I will talk to you guys soon. Bye. Hi dragons, I'm back. Sorry, I'm still trying to get used to this new setup. It's not really a new setup, but it feels new. But I do want to give you guys an update. So I did wind up re-watching Netflix's Bridgerton season 3. It's called Joining of the Hands. I forgot how jam-packed this episode was, so there's like so many good scenes. Like, this is like probably one of the episodes that I think is the most Penn and Colin heavy in the second half. I think that becomes true. I think that like as you get further into the season, the couple becomes more of a focus, but this was definitely the most action heavy scene, and I think this is the episode to me that pulls on stuff from the past. I feel like if you were in a watcher with this and you only watched this season, I think you'd be very, very confused about this conflict from Penn and Colin. So, but the fight with them, like as sort of I said in the book, it was so different. I think I put a clip in that previously that like he was angry at her and just like so vicious in the book, and I didn't like that. To be honest, I didn't like how the Colin was in the book. I think Luke Newton does a much better job, but he was so upset. He was so heartbroken that happened. That fight was very, very interesting to me, so I really, really like that. And then the next scene that like stood out to me was also the scene where Penelope had to tell Eloise like what happened that Colin found out, and that broke my heart a little bit. But like Eloise still feels so insecure of her relationship with Penelope, and she's like, I can't help you with this, and that like broke my heart a little bit because like again, this was an episode that had a lot going on. It had a lot of conflicts. It had the conflict between Penn and Colin, it had the conflict between Eloise and Penn, it had the overall big conflict about Whistledown, and I just really, really liked that scene. And again, at the end, we'll get to that together, but I feel like there was definitely like, this was like kind of the transformation for their dynamic for Eloise and Penn in this episode, and I like that because I think that they definitely needed that in there, and I thought that that scene was really good. I also really just like Benedict and Eloise's dynamics. I'm really curious just to see, like, I'll probably predict a little bit at the end like what I think is going to happen. I'm curious to see which one is up next, who's going to get the next season, because I definitely could see it going either way, especially with Benedict's menage situation this year. We'll talk about that at the end because that was a very, very interesting choice. But yeah, and then the next scene that really stood out to me I also do like the dynamics of the relationship between Agatha and Miss Bridgerton, Mama Bridgerton. Their relationship is very, very fun to me and compelling and quick. So I really, really like their dynamic. I think that they got a little bit more stage time as well, which I do like. I think that that's like super important to me. Their relationship definitely got fleshed out. Their relationship definitely got fleshed out a lot more in Queen Charlotte, but yeah. And then the next scene that I really liked was the one between Eloise and Colin when they were basically fighting at each other. Like, why didn't you tell me she was whistled down? And Eloise was like, well, why didn't you tell me you were in love with my best friend? So that scene was very, very interesting. And I really like those two actors. I just think it's so funny. Like, I watched Nicola say this, that like, she did not do a screen test with Luke Newton. She did not do a screen test with Eloise. And those are just some of my favorite relationships of the whole show. So to have them never have screen tested and just have natural chemistry is pretty sick. But that scene definitely was like, I love when Colin said, like, you're lucky you've never been in love. Like when Eloise says, do you want to forgive me? Because you could see the depths of this relationship. And that is why like Friends to More Romances work for me, because the history is there. And I think that that's what the TV show did super well. And I think I struggled a little bit within the book, but the TV show I think has those dynamics down. One of the most saddest scenes for me, not to mention her dress, the scene where they're like, when their moms are like setting up the breakfast dinner, that dress Penelope has, if I could like get that dress as a cosplay, I would cosplay for that all the time because I love that dress. It's stunning. But just have them in the ballroom like fighting and her saying like, oh, you trapped me, and Colin, I love you. Oh my god. That was like emotional. That was an emotional scene to watch because I just love, I just think Nicola Coughlan is such good acting. But that was another scene that I really, really liked. If I had to pick like an emotional scene between those, that was probably the emotional scene that I really liked. That whole scene and the moms noticing that they're behaving not correctly. And again, this is kind of where the Whistledown comes in. Like, he's so mad at her, but she still can't give up Whistledown. And I just love that. I mean, I think that, like, as she says later, like, you know, being a woman means you have to hide parts of yourself that society doesn't like, and she doesn't want to do that. And I think that that's just, like, such a cool conversation between them later. But here you could just see how heartbroken she is. And even though how heartbroken she is, she still doesn't want to give up Whistledown. I think that that's, like, strong-willed. I also really did like the scene between Benedict and Tilly about like romance and relationships and, you know, what is normal in their society versus what's not normal. That was like a very interesting conversation. I think that that has the potentiality to, like, you know, basically talking about queerness in society. And I think that is a very big chance that, like, we are going to get some more queer stories. I know there's been rumors we definitely will. And we clearly got some queer stuff this season well, but I think it's definitely going to push the envelope with that, which I'm really excited about. And I'm really excited for Mama Bridgerton and her possible romance. Like, that's just very interesting to me because she's never had a story in the books. Like, that was not written. So I'm really curious to see if we're going to ever get that. Maybe there will be, like, more with that because I really do like the actor that plays Agatha's brother as well. So that was really, really cool. Cressida is just an interesting character. I think Cressida will get her due next episode, but she's just such a cutting villain, and I'm intrigued by her. She definitely came out of her shell, this. And then the other scene that I really liked was the one between Penn and Madame Delacour. Like, that was really her being honest. Like, you know, Colin knows, I don't know what to do. And I just remember, like, in a previous episode, like, when she was giving up Whistledown and they were having the same conversation. And I just think that, like, you could still see the struggle in Penn. Like, she said it. She's like, I'm about to marry the man that I love, but I don't know if I'm worthy of him. And then Genevieve was like, you know, did you make mistakes? Yeah, of course you made mistakes, but you need to be okay with yourself. And I just really, really liked that scene between them. Like, an uncommon relationship, but, like, one that I really do like. So that was another scene that, like, for Penn's self-discovery journey, that was probably my favorite. So, friendship-wise, I really like the scene between Eloise and Penelope at the start. Emotion wise for Colin and Penn, I definitely like the ballroom scene. And then for this, for Penn's self-discovery of kind of figuring herself out, I really like the one between her and Madame Delacour. But honestly, like the tense scene for me, like the one that like I will probably rewatch, is the one when they're fighting, because I think that like that's the scene that I needed, because it pulls so much things. It pulls so much up from episode 1, season 2. It's just really bringing up all of this stuff that Penn and Colin are involved in. That scene was also really, really good to watch. Like it's very, very bantery and it's steamy and sexy, and I really like it. The kiss at the end was great. But that was the episode where I was like, you could see like how angry they both are, because they're so mad at each other. I think they're also mad at themselves, but they're also mad at each other. So that was another scene that like emotion wise and like anger wise and like tension wise, I really like that episode. But again, it's really hard to choose like a favorite in this whole episode, because so many of these scenes really, really work for me. So maybe this is my favorite episode. I don't know, but there's a lot to choose from. I also really liked, I mean, I'll say this, we don't get a lot of Anthony and Kate. We don't get a lot of them, and you know, I know that Johnny Bailey was filming a movie, but I love seeing them now. Their season was like so hard to get through sometimes because it was like so longing, and he was such a bear. However, the soft side that you see of Anthony and Kate in this is really, really sweet. I love when they come in for marital advice for Colin and they ask all these questions, and it's kind of the other side of the coin from when Colin and Eloise are having their argument. Like, they don't really know anything and Eloise does, which is interesting. I just really, really like that. But I really, really like that scene. That was those two scenes were really, really good. And you know what, the wedding was really, really cute. I definitely liked the dancing scene at the end, like when they were dancing and Penn's like, I don't want to be here anymore, can we be somewhere, can we be closer? If you haven't seen it, go on their Instagram and you can like see their first dance, like with cameras. They captured it really, really cute. But I like that dance scene. I thought that was good. There was also a really, really sweet Martin between Kilmartin and Francesca that I really liked. Again, I'm really having a hard time like choosing my favorite things because I really just love this whole episode. I thought it was really, really jam-packed. I also really like the scene. I like so many of these scenes. It's really, really hard to choose. I really like the scene as well, like during the reception with Eloise and Benedict, where Benedict was saying love is not finite. Just because your friend get married doesn't mean they stop loving you. And they were talking about Penelope and Colin and all of that stuff. And that scene was very, very interesting to me. And I really, really liked it. Again, I'm going to talk a little bit at the end, like, who I think will be next, but these two are my predictions. It's going to be Benedict or Eloise. I think it's going to be Benedict, but I could be wrong. I loved The Last Dance. I also loved, I think the funniest part was when the Queen came in and they're like, oh, only Bridgerton stay, and Penn goes to leave, and Colin's like, you're a Bridgerton now. And they wait, and then the most heartbreaking scene at the end is when, well, the funny part was when Francesca announced that she's marrying Kilmartin. The Queen's like, I don't care. But the last scene was like when she's like, I don't want to give up Whistledown. Like, you don't understand what it's like to be a woman, and yada, yada, yada. That scene broke my heart, as always. And they're not even going to have a wedding night together. That was very upsetting. And then Eloise comforting her at the end. I really like this episode. This is an episode that had so much going on. This is probably one of the best constructed episodes to me, where I think everyone got their due. I think there was and then obviously we'll talk about the menage at the end, but the menage at the end when Benedict decides to have a relationship with both of them. There was also enough in here, I think, for all the side plots, like with Kilmartin and Francesca and, you know, Benedict and Eloise and all of these relationships in Cressida. So there was so much in this episode that I feel like everyone got their due, and I don't feel like that's true in the next episode. We'll get there. So if I had to pick a favorite scene, like, oh, this is really, really hard. If I had to pick a favorite scene, I would probably say the fight scene between Penn and Colin in the middle. Like, I think that was like one of my favorites. And if I had to pick a I'm gonna do two. I'm gonna say the two that I also really liked is I really liked the scene between Penn and Madame Delacour. That was a really good scene. And I also really liked the Colin scene with Eloise. And if I had to pick like a non-scene, I would probably, like, since it doesn't involve them, I would probably say the queer conversation of that. So, I mean, this one was really, really good. I really liked it. This one is one of the episodes that I think was the best constructed of the whole season. And I'll talk a little bit about the end about what I feel about the construction of the series and why I think it's gonna, why I think people are struggling with it, and they've been struggling with the series since season 1, and some of my notes. But I'll be back when I've watched the last episode. Bye, friends. Friends, I'm back. So I'm actually here to to do 2 things. I'm actually here to talk about the last episode, which is Delight. Which, by the way, I think these titles really told such a story, this arc, which I really, really loved. I think they do that all the time, but I just was very, very noticeable to it this time. But I really just want to talk about this episode because I think that this is the one episode that I think was so rushed. And I think that's what I'm going to get into at like the very end, like what I think is the downfall of the series a little bit. I still love this season. It's definitely my favorite. I still really, really do like the show. But structurally, I think that there's a lot of things that are going to lead to a lot of anger, I think. And I think that that's just the way that they're structuring the show. But yeah, let's get into it. This was the episode that I think the most people had the most issues with in regards to Penelope and Colin's story. However, I loved it, which is no surprise. I always joke that if something is really, really unpopular, I will like it. It's just how I am. Like, I remember when I watched Buffy. Buffy was my favorite character. I remember when I watched Twilight, I liked Jacob. So, you know, I tend to like really, really unpopular things, but that's okay. I did like that we had the Cressida plotline from the book. I actually have the book here. So I think that that was very, very interesting. I also did like at the end of the episode, we had the start of Penelope and Lady Danbury's relationship, because that was featured so prevalently into this story and I loved it. So I hope that in future seasons we will get that if all works out. I liked that. I also liked when, you know, there was a lot of conflict between Penelope and her mom this whole episode. First, she didn't know her daughter was whistled down, and then yada, 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 all this stuff happened. There was some real anger, and I was almost waiting for Penelope to say, like, I became whistled down because you. Like, I was waiting for her to say that. She didn't go that far, but that's what I was waiting for her to say. I also love seeing Eloise and Penn back together and, like, scheming and cavorting and, like, you know, doing all that other stuff. I love the scene when they were sitting on the couch, and like that is they've done that in every season, and Penelope just looked at her and was like, you were trying to make me jealous, weren't you, when you started hanging out with Cressida. I thought that was very, very cute. I also really liked the dynamic of Colin's changing throughout this whole episode. I think this was definitely much Colin's episode. Like, Colin really went on a journey because he didn't want her to be whistled down, and then he tried to convince Cressida to like not, and then he had to just step back and like let Penelope take it. And I think that was so hard for Colin. So I know at the end of the episode people were like, oh my god, why didn't he go save her? I don't think she wanted to be saved. I don't think she wanted him there. I think that she needed to stand there in her own 2 feet. Those 2 scenes were definitely my favorite. The scene where she had to like announce the ton, I love that scene. That is like great. If I ever do a monologue for my students next year, I'm probably going to do that monologue because it was great. I also love the final scene between Penn and Colin when they were like, you know, talking. The one thing that I did really like, and I think that this really led to that final scene, is everyone, when Penelope says, well, we can pay her off, and she like admits everything, and it's Eloise, her mom, and Colin, and then no one's listening to her. Like, they're all talking over her, and that is the moment where you realize that she still doesn't have her own power. And that scene when she was like sitting there and everyone was talking over her is why I think it led to her being able to address the crowd and everyone just listening to her. So that was really, really good. I also liked seeing Eloise's journey in this season, and Eloise and Benedict. I'll talk a little bit about this at the end, but I think the next season is going to focus on one of those 2. My money's on Benedict. I hope it's also, I don't know, I want them to be both, but we'll talk about that in a second. I also did like Eloise deciding to go with Francesca. I also liked the wedding. That was really, really cute. I like Francesca. I'll be very curious to see how her season turns out, because we definitely did get a hint of some changes coming our way, which I think is going to be very, very interesting. Yeah, I just really, really liked this episode. Like, thought it was solid. Yeah, I think if I had to choose a favorite scene, I would probably say Penelope addressing the crowd and also their final scene, like their final big scene. So let's talk a little bit about season 4. I'm really excited. I'm really excited for season 4. Again, this is probably going to be my favorite season of the whole show. Like, I definitely love this season. I loved Nicola and Luke. I loved having them in there. I hope that they stay as long as they can, because I just love them as side characters. And I think that there is enough story for them to be told, especially if you get into like Benedict and Eloise's story. I think that those two side characters really need to be there. I also do think throughout this whole entire season, they have really been second tier characters. So I think it would be unfortunate if they're not there. That's the only thing I'm a little bit hesitant about, because you've seen this in like every other season. Like, they don't really come into the next season. Like, they're there like a little bit. Like, Daphne was there a little bit, and so was like Kate and Anthony. I just want there to be more story, and I'll tell you why. I think the only criticism I have of this whole show is it's too short. And I'm gonna say that because I think that if you're writing a story this way, if you're writing an ensemble-based piece, it cannot be 8 episodes. And I think that that's why people are getting so frustrated, because their couple is getting shortchanged. Even I feel like if you just look at the first 7 episodes, I feel like we had great pacing, great levels. It was great. The 8th episode was too rushed. I feel like we could have had like 4 more episodes just to encapsulate all this, and I think we rushed at a time. When you only give an audience 8 episodes and you're focusing on one character, or one couple in this case, you also have to have side stories. Like, that's just how this story works. It's not like when you read a book and their whole story is contained in one story. And honestly, I like it better because I feel like everyone gets a voice. But when you have a story set like that, you only have 8 episodes, and you have like all these thousands of side plots, like the Mondriches and the Benedicts. Everything needs like, wait, you need more time. This could have easily been 10 episodes, and I don't think anyone would have cared, because you need more time. And I love an ensemble-based story. Like, some of my favorite shows are ensemble-based. But those shows, to do a really true ensemble-based story, you need to have more time for your characters, because I do feel like Penelope and Colin got a little bit shortchanged in this whole season. I would have loved to see the aftermath of what happened. I would have loved like her announcement scene to be like the second to last season, or maybe like at the start of that episode, so we had a whole last episode focused on wrapping everything up and maybe setting up season 4 a little bit. But I just had so much fun with this. This was such a fun project, and if I had to choose like overall favorite scenes, we're gonna exclude the carriage and the mirror scene, because those I think are my all-time favorites. I just really had I just love that this season really focused on a lot of relationships. It was obviously Penn and Colin's love story, which I loved. Definitely my favorite. And I think a lot of that is because of the actors. Honestly, the book characters felt a little bit flat to me. The actors really brought these into life, and I love that. I also loved seeing the complexities of Eloise and Penelope's relationship throughout this whole season. That was so cool, and I love the trajectory. I can't wait to see what happens next season with them, because I want more time with them. I think I said this in a previous clip. I still don't believe, I believe because I believe her, but like that they never screen tested Penn and Colin, or Eloise and Penn, because that's just insanity, because they have such sick chemistry. I love that. I love the relationship between the Farringtons, how that was like taken through. And I just love the second chance friends to more romance that got developed. I loved the doubling plot. I loved her as Whistledown. That was such an interesting take, and I loved it. Let me know what other show you want me to do this with. If there's another adaptation you want me. I really haven't done this before, but it's been so much fun. And now I'm going to take a little bit of a Bridgerton break. I think I'm going to let myself watch something new and exciting. But just know that this was definitely my favorite season. I would love to know if this is anyone's favorite season, because as I've always said in any of my content, I like unpopular things. I like things that no one else likes. So I knew going into this it was going to be my favorite season. I also knew no one else was going to like it. So I'd love to know if I have any friends that actually like this as much as I do. I know people don't, and that's okay, but I'm going to live in my little bubble. I'm going to watch this on a loop for the next 2 years and just keep up with all these actors, because they're really, really great. Let me know in the comments if there's another series you would like me to do this with. If it's a book series, if they have an adaptation, if you just want me to, I don't know. I love doing this. I just don't know what else I should do it with. So I will talk to you guys for another video, and I hope you guys are enjoying my videos and you guys are watching Bridgerton. Comment below what your thoughts on the season were, and I would love to know. Bye, Book Dragons.